Say you're an Amazon seller. You have a great product, a great brand, a great listing, but the final piece of the puzzle that you're missing is your PPC strategy. Now, I've spoken to hundreds of sellers over the last few years, and a common problem that I find is they're not optimizing their bids as often as they should be. Although they know they should be optimizing their bids, for whatever reason, they're just not doing it enough. Now, that could be for various reasons. For example, you just simply don't have the time because you're wearing so many other hats in the business. You find it overwhelming. Or simply you just don't have the systems and processes to efficiently optimize your bids on a regular basis. Now, in this video, I'm going to be providing you with the exact step-by-step guide to optimize your bids on a frequent basis. My name's Jake Evans and I run Evica Digital. We are an Amazon marketing agency and I work with dozens of clients, and I've looked at over 100 different accounts doing audits. And this right here is probably the most common problem that I've found. People aren't optimizing their bids as frequently as they should be. The issue here is Amazon is always changing, whether that be an update to the algorithm, new competition entering the market. The point is, bids are always going up and down. So it's important to be constantly going in and regularly checking your bids and making adjustments as necessary. Otherwise, you could be leaving huge amounts of money on the table and jeopardizing all the hard work that you're putting into other aspects of the business. Now, the good part is it's actually not that difficult. And for you lucky viewers now, I'm going to be providing you the exact formulas that I use to manage bids for my clients. But before we jump into the nitty gritty, let's actually define what bid optimization actually is. Because a lot of people love to throw the term about, but no one really explains what bid optimization actually is. So to understand what bid optimization is, we must understand first what a bid is. So a bid is an offer of a price to pay for something. To relate that back to Amazon, it's an offer of a price to pay for Amazon to serve our ad for a particular keyword or product target. And bid optimization is essentially increasing or decreasing the amount that we're willing to pay to make our ad spend as efficient as possible. Now, as I explained a little bit earlier, it's important to be optimizing our bids on a regular basis because we have things like CPC inflation, new competition entering the market, and they're going to drive up the CPCs because naturally they're going to be bidding more to drive more clicks and more sales for a newer product. We may have poor competition who just don't know how to advertise and they're going to be bidding high, or maybe they're just not optimizing their bids. And for example, during Q4, CPCs, cost per clicks, may be a little bit higher because people are willing to pay a little bit more during that time, as they know the additional traffic that we see on Amazon during this time usually leads to higher conversions. So some people are willing to pay more for bids at this point. So I have a very simple framework for bid optimization. The first thing that I'll start off by doing is defining our target ACOS. So each individual, each account will have a unique target ACOS. Now, to be honest, I could probably make a whole video on setting a target ACOS, but for the sake of this video, we're going to say that our target ACOS is 30%. So the next thing that we need to do is understand how much we're going to actually adjust our bids by. So what I've found is a lot of people just like to throw arbitrary numbers around. So if your keyword or product target has X ACOS, then we reduce by 10%. If it has a slightly higher ACOS, we reduce by 15%. Now, I do believe that these numbers do have a place within your strategy. However, you don't want that to be the main part of the strategy. And that's why I like to use a formula, because if you want to reduce our bids to achieve the target ACOS, then we can do this mathematically. That's the reason why I like to apply formulas rather than just apply arbitrary numbers. And then the final part is simply just making the adjustment. So to understand how much you need to reduce or increase your bid, we use a formula. So for this formula, there are two metrics that you need to understand. Now, the first one is known as revenue per click, and I found this from AdBadger, so shout out to you guys for that. So revenue per click is the amount of revenue generated by a keyword or product divided by the number of clicks at that keyword or product target has generated within the same time frame. So to give a numerical example, let's say we have a keyword, right, that has generated $300 in sales over the last 14 days. And it's also generated 100 clicks in those 14 days as well. What we would do is take the 300 and divide it by the 100 clicks, and that would give us a $3 revenue per click. Then the second metric that we need for this formula is our target ACOS. Now, we already have our target ACOS. In this example, it's 30%. So for this example, what we would do is multiply the $3 revenue per click by our 0.3 target ACOS, and that would give us a bid of 90 cents. So if we're trying to decrease our ACOS for a particular keyword or target, our bid will probably be higher than 90 cents. So we would reduce it to 90 cents to achieve our target ACOS of 30%. Now, on the flip side, if we had a keyword or product target that had an ACOS below our target ACOS, then we would probably be increasing our bid up to this 90 cent ideal bid mark. Now, there is a pretty important caveat that I'd like to make before we move on to the next thing, and that's for high ACOS targets. So let's say, for example, our target ACOS is 30%. If we have a keyword that has an ACOS of maybe 100%, I'm probably not going to use the formula in this particular case. The reason being is I've found through experience working with different accounts that if you reduce the bid too fast, or by too large an amount, should I say, you can throttle the sales for that particular keyword. So what I would do in this scenario is, rather than apply the formula, this is probably where we would like to apply the more arbitrary number. So for a keyword or product target with an ACOS of 100%, let's reduce the bid by 15%. That should reduce the ACOS down to about 85%. So what I like to do is I'll reduce the bid and then I'll leave it about 3 or 4 days, generate some more data or gather some more data. Look at the ACOS. If it's still quite high, if we're at about 85-90%, let's reduce it again by another 15%. And we just keep coming in every 3 to 4 days and reducing the bid by 10 to 15% until we get within a reasonable range of our target ACOS. Now, the next question you'll probably have is, well, what's a reasonable range? So for me, what I like to do is have 50%. So for example, anything that is 50% above or below our target ACOS, we apply the arbitrary 10 to 15%. So in our example again, if we have a target ACOS of 30%, that would mean any keyword or product target that either has an ACOS higher than 45% or lower than 15%, we would either decrease or increase the bid by 10 to 15%, depending on whether we're trying to increase or decrease the ACOS. Now, I understand that I've probably thrown a lot of numbers about there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into a live account, so one of my clients, and I'm just going to show you exactly how I do it. So you can pretty much follow it step by step and really make bid optimization easy, because as I say, it's not a difficult thing. Okay, so now we're in the bulk sheets. I'm going to show you step by step exactly how I optimize the bids for my clients. So first thing that we need to do is apply a few filters. So we're going to go ahead and click keyword and product target, because we only want to be seeing those. Next thing that we want to do is go across to state, and we want to set it to enabled, because we don't want to be looking at any keywords or product targets that are paused, because what's the point in optimizing those if they're paused? The next thing that I like to do here is create some new columns, and I'll explain why in a moment. So I'll create 6 and we'll label them here. CPC, new bid, RPC, ACOS, spend, sales. So you'll notice that some of these columns here we already have the data for example, CPC, ACOS, spend and sales. But I like to include it here and create new columns simply because I like to have all of the data in one easily accessible space where I can just look at it all together. I don't have to keep scrolling across and going back and forward. I just find it a lot more efficient. So that's why I do that. Next thing I'm going to do is copy in all of the data. So now I've copied all of the data from over here. As you can see, it's all populated apart from new bid and revenue per click, of course. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to sort by ACOS. So as you can see, it's already been sorted. So we're going to go by descending order. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight everything that is above our target ACOS. So for a little bit of context here, in this particular account, our target ACOS is 20%. So I'm going to highlight them all in orange, just like that. And that way I'll know that all of these columns here, all of these rows are keywords and product targets that have an ACOS that is above our target ACOS. So the next thing that I'm going to do is fill out the revenue per click. And as we know, it's a very simple formula. So I'm just going to click the equals. And then I'm going to go across to sales, and then I'm going to click the slash there and divide it by clicks like that. And then I'm just going to drag that all the way down, and that's going to give us our revenue per click for all of these keywords and product targets. So now we've got everything apart from our actual new bid. So next thing that I'm going to do, as I explained, I don't like to use the revenue per click formula for product targets and keywords that have an ACOS that is substantially higher than our target ACOS. So we're going to go again and look at the 50% deviation from our target ACOS. So anything that's 30% or higher, I'm going to highlight that in a slightly darker orange, and that way I know that these ones we're not going to use the RPC formula for, but we will use a formula, and that's what I'm going to show now. So now we've got the formula. So this formula is a simple if formula. The reason that I use an if formula is because if the CPC is actually lower than the bid, what I've found anecdotally is we can actually reduce the CPC rather than the bid, and it won't crush our sales. So this is just a tip that I've learned over the years, and also I've noticed that people in the industry have mentioned the same thing, that you can actually reduce the CPC. And that typically gets the ACOS down a little bit faster if your CPC is below the bid. Obviously, if the CPC is above the bid, then we'll be reducing the bid, and that's why I use the if formula. So you can just copy that formula here, and this formula is for if we're going to reduce the bid by 15%, and that's why we're multiplying it by 0.85 to give us the 15% reduction. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to drag that down, but I'm going to drag it down to anything that's above 40%, as you can see here. And to be honest, this is a pretty arbitrary number, but what I like to do is anything that's above my target ACOS by 100%. So anything that's double our target ACOS, I will reduce it by 15%. And then anything that's within that 100% above and our deviation of 50%, so between 50 and 100% above our target ACOS, I will reduce either by 12 or 10%. Now in this particular scenario, I'm going to reduce it by 10%, so I just need to change this formula here to 0.9 to give us the 10% reduction. And then I'm just going to drag it all the way down to the bottom, and then we've got our formula. So we've got the new bids for all of these keywords and product targets here. Next, we need to move on to these ones. So we're going to use the RPC multiplied by our target ACOS formula. So we go equals RPC, and then we multiply that by 0.2, because that's our target ACOS, and that gives us our ideal bid. I'm just going to drag that down there. So there we have it. We've got all of our new bids that we need to apply to reduce our ACOS. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is copy those over. Now, I can't lie, I'm not amazing with Excel, and there probably is a much more efficient way to do this, but what I've found is the easiest way in my experience is to just go like this and copy and paste it. But you have to be careful that you don't copy and paste where it gets cut. So as you can see here on the left, there's a gap between 16 and 65, and that means that there's loads of columns missing just because of the way we filtered it. So if I were to just go ahead and try and copy all of these columns that you can see here, it wouldn't copy and paste properly. So you have to be careful that you're not missing anything here. You need to go down to where the line gets drawn, where it gets cut here, and just do it like that. And to be honest, it does take a while, especially if you have loads of different keywords that you need to update, but it's worth it. So if anybody knows a faster, more efficient way to do that, leave a comment in the comment section, because yeah, I'm all ears. Another way that I found to be efficient if you don't have too many keywords is by simply just looking across and just copying it like this. So I've done that, and now you'll notice that all of these ones here, I can actually go ahead and copy and paste in like this. And there we have it. We've got all of our new bids. So the next thing that we need to do is delete these. So we go and delete that. And then make sure we type in update here. Drag that down. Then change the color. To be honest, I'm not sure if changing the color actually affects anything in the upload, but I always like to change it back anyway. And then that's it. So what we've done here is we've updated all the keywords for targets that have an ACOS above our target ACOS. And all we have to do now is save this, and we can upload it, and it will reduce the bids. So that's how you can optimize your bids. Now, I know I only showed you how to decrease your bids, but you can apply the exact same formula for if you want to increase your bids. So if your ACOS is within that 50% of your target ACOS, then you want to go ahead and apply the exact same formula. If it's below 50% of your target ACOS, then in my opinion anyway, you should just go ahead and increase the bid by 10 to 15%. Although if you want to use the revenue per click formula, then go ahead and use that and test it and see if it works better for you. You may find that it actually works better for you. Now, one thing that I didn't explain when I was going through the spreadsheet was about deleting the columns that we created. So it's important that you delete those columns before you re-upload the bulk file, because you want to upload the file the exact way that you downloaded it. So if it has additional columns, then it probably won't update. So that's super important. But yeah, that's everything for this video. I hope you took some value from it. And I hope now that by watching this video, you have the tools and confidence to go in and regularly update your bids. Now, below this video, you will see there's a link. Full transparency, it is a video sales letter. I will be trying to sell you something. It's just basically to see whether we can help you grow your sales. So you don't have to click the link, it's completely fine. But if you do need help growing your sales on Amazon, then it might be worth clicking the link. But if not, totally get it. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you for staying to the end. I really do appreciate it. And if you took some value from this video, be sure to click the subscribe button. If there's any questions that you have relating to this video, leave a comment. And that's everything. Thank you so much for staying to the end. Take care.